wife cheated with her gym trainer, sought half of everything in our divorce. But she didn't realize my dad secretly owned our property and savings. I never thought I'd be posting here, but here I am. I'm a 35-year-old accountant, been working at a local firm for about 10 years now. I've always been a really practical man, level-headed and all that, and I think that's why I'm able to stay cool during all of this. Anyway, I'm married to Kathy, who's 33. We've been together for approximately 5 years, but married for 2. No kids, which looking back now, is probably a godsend. Kathy hasn't worked since we got married. She used to be in marketing, but when we tied the knot, she wanted to take a break and focus on us. I didn't mind. I made enough to support both of us, and I figured it was temporary. We've got a property, a reasonable savings account. Nothing fancy, but enough to be comfortable. Kathy's been home most of the time, but lately things started to change. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when I saw it, but Kathy began acting distant. She'd stay out longer when she went out with pals or to the gym. She stopped being loving and would get defensive when I inquired what was going on. At first, I wrote it up to stress or just a tough time in the marriage. But as the weeks went on, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. And boy, was I right. One evening when Kathy was in the shower, her phone buzzed with a message, and out of pure instinct, I glanced over at it. It came from a guy named Derek. I didn't think much of it at first, but something about the way the letter was worded felt off. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow, babe," it said. I opened it, and what I read confirmed my worst fears. She'd been dating Derek, her gym trainer, for months. The texts were frank, full of plans for the future, plans that clearly didn't involve me. I sat there paralyzed, staring at the phone. I couldn't believe it. The lady I married, the one I trusted, was cheating on me. But instead of fury or despair, I just felt numb. Maybe it was the shock, or maybe it was my pragmatic nature kicking in. But I knew I had to address her without losing my calm. When she walked out of the bathroom, I calmly handed her the phone and asked her to explain. At first, she tried to deny everything, saying it was nothing, just a joke. But as I read some of the texts back to her, she understood there was no use in lying. I want a divorce, she declared with no hint of remorse, no apology, no guilt, nothing. Just a cold, detached statement. She revealed she'd been seeing Derek for a while and that she wasn't happy in our marriage anymore. She didn't bother to sugarcoat it. She was leaving me for him. Without skipping a beat, she started talking about sharing assets. She claimed she wanted half of everything, the house, the savings, everything we'd achieved together. She even argued she deserved it, because she had sacrificed her career to support mine. I couldn't believe the nerve. I stayed calm though. Maybe it's because I'd already emotionally checked out at that time, or maybe because deep down I knew something she didn't. So I agreed. I told her if she wanted a divorce, I wouldn't fight her on it. She could get half of what she thought I had. She looked surprised, probably expecting a fight or some type of emotional breakdown. But I wasn't ready to give her that satisfaction. What Kathy didn't know, and what I didn't feel the need to tell her, was that practically all of our assets were in my dad's name. You see, my father is a pretty shrewd man. Years ago, when I first started generating significant money, he suggested I place all my big assets in his name. He said that it would be a safety in case anything ever went wrong in the future, whether it be debts, lawsuits, or as it turns out, an unfaithful spouse. At the time, I didn't think much of it. It just seemed like savvy financial planning. So when Kathy demanded half of everything, I knew she wouldn't be receiving what she expected. On paper, I didn't have much. Simply a modest bank account, a car in my name, and a few other odds and ends. The house? Technically, it belonged to my dad. The bulk of my savings also in accounts under my dad's control. Instead of engaging into a nasty court battle, I proposed we resolve things through mediation. Believed it would be easier and cheaper for both of us that way. She agreed, clearly expecting she'd walk away with a substantial piece of my assets. Little did she know this arrangement with my dad had been in place for years, and honestly, I had forgotten about it until the divorce talks began. It wasn't that I'd prepared for a scenario like this, but can't deny that I'm happy for my father's thoughtfulness. The property we lived in was technically owned by him, as were most of the investments and money that Kathy had her eyes on. I had always kept a low financial profile in my own name, living modestly enough that no one, including Kathy, really questioned it. As soon as the divorce procedure started, I told my dad. He wasn't delighted about the situation, what parent would be, but he recognized the significance of keeping everything tight-lipped. We talked with the lawyer just to ensure that everything was airtight and legally sound. Turns out everything was in perfect order. Kathy could demand all she wanted, but there wasn't much in my name for her to take. Kathy didn't waste any time. She hired an aggressive divorce attorney, one of those sharks that pledges to grab everything they can. Meanwhile, I selected a low-key but reputable lawyer, someone who specialized in cases like mine where there were delicate financial factors at play. I didn't want to make a huge issue out of this, but also wasn't about to allow Kathy and her lawyer bully me around. The first step in the divorce process was asset disclosure, which, as you can imagine, didn't go as Kathy had expected. Lay everything out in full just as required by law. But when she discovered how little there truly was in my name, her lawyer's confident grin wavered. I could see they were both confused, maybe even suspicious, but there wasn't much they could do about it. Everything presented was truthful, and there were no hidden assets. She then started berating me right there itself, while calling me expletive and accused me of lying. But like said, I provided everything had. After bunch accusations raised, voices left, said we'll discuss once calmed down now. Here turning Reddit, because not sure if handled right ways, so Reddit expletive agreeing. Give half what's mine while knowing she's not actually getting anything close. Update was so. Things are starting heat up after initial asset disclosure. Kathy, full disbelief, plainly thought hiding something while blaming berating lawyer wasn't much better look face when saw modest figures paper priceless, didn't take long start demanding more thorough inquiry. Kathy continuously questioning, were all money house investment savings, expected we had couldn't believe after years. Marriage wasn't more separated, lawyer swiftly hired forensic accountant, look deeper, assuming put money away, hidden accounts. At first little nervous, not because had anything hide, but knowing this only prolong whole procedure after talking lawyer, going over everything again, realized nothing found legally. Everything claimed 100 accurate, no trail lead them assets down. As investigation stretched on, could see irritation rising Kathy's face used getting wanted this time, nothing take like couldn't get brain around fact, walking away next. See these next move. Try argue contributed significantly career lifestyle claimed. Staying home managing household enabled focus work advanced career, while admit having take care things home helpful times, wasn't running Fortune 500 company mid-level accountant job, been pretty stable years now, what meteoric rise income point. Say helped get there, still tried pushed idea, sacrificed own career marketing. Support mind truth, hadn't worked long before deciding wanted stay home, even choice made not something ever asked. Here per lawyer. Brought repeatedly trying paint someone benefited sacrifice again, wasn't much support. Claim 1 point even tried involve parents. Proceedings Kathy wanted prove giving money, under table hiding assets help part made especially angry parents. Nothing dragging low blow, fortunately lawyer. Shut down attempts, quickly clear Kathy getting desperate. As divorce proceedings dragged Kathy decided take things own hands, couldn't get wanted through courts going try ruin reputation, other ways started telling, everyone's social circle, hiding money financially abusive throughout marriage. Couldn't believe lies spreading here mutual friends, going nothing manipulated thinking more. Did even took social media, posting vague, pointed comments, narcissistic partners, betrayals, some people sided course. Always people side person, looks wrong to most closer friends. Knew better, new type do something frustrating, see try ruin reputation. Just because weren't going way tried. Not let get new truth people, really mattered new besides bigger things focus making sure didn't take more deserved. While Kathy busy running smear campaign, making sure bases covered lawyer, constant communication, making sure evidence needed, proof side story documented. Every interaction demand, made tried paint bad guy. New court documentation crucial, also started gathering evidence affair Derek adultery. Doth always play huge role. Divorce settlements, wanted make sure clear victim screenshots, text exchange pictures, taken together even statements. Friends known affair kept quiet. Wasn't one humiliate, just wanted truth. Come top started preparing inevitable fallout. Knew once truth came not getting half. Everything things going ugly kept distance. Staying focused work life making sure everything place next phase divorce. One thing made interesting Derek's reaction everything. When Kathy initially informed him, she intended to leave me for him. He appeared all for it. They had their little romantic ideal of starting a new life together. But as soon as the divorce proceedings started becoming nasty, Derek began pulling back. It turns out he wasn't quite as committed in Kathy as she assumed. From what I've heard, he started getting cold feet when he learned that being with her might involve dealing with her financial troubles. Kathy was expecting this magnificent new life with Derek, but he wasn't ready to commit to that. In fact, news got out that he started losing clients at the gym because of the issue. Apparently, individuals don't want to work with a trainer who's renowned for being connected with married ladies. Now, Derek's been attempting to remove himself from Kathy, and she's starting to understand that maybe this wasn't the fairy tale she imagined it would be. I almost feel horrible for her, but then I recall everything she's done. As for me, I'm feeling conflicted. On one hand, I feel vindicated. I'm delighted that I secured my assets, and I'm glad that Kathy isn't walking away with what she expected. But at the same time, I can't help but feel a bit melancholy. This was my marriage after all. I loved Kathy once and I imagined we'd make a life together. Seeing it all come apart like way is terrible, even if I know it's for the best. Things have taken a very crazy turn. Since my last update, Kathy is getting desperate and it's starting to show in the worst ways. She's definitely recognized that she's not going to get the payment she expected from this divorce, and now she's trying to make my life terrible. The newest is that she started making threats about damaging my career and my reputation at work. She told me flat out that if I didn't make things easier for her, give her more money, she would make sure everyone at my firm knew what a scumbag I was. At first, I wasn't sure what she meant, but it became evident when she started showing up at my office unexpectedly. The first time she was quiet, pretending like she just needed to talk. But when I informed her there was nothing more to discuss, she snapped. She started raising her voice, saying things like, "I'll make sure everyone here knows the truth about you." Fortunately, I was able to get her out of there before it went further, but it's evident she's becoming unpredictable. Her conduct at home, well, her temporary home with her parents, has been irregular too. After discovering she wasn't going to walk away with the enormous payday she expected, she moved back in with her parent. From what I've heard, things haven't been going well for her there. Her parents are sympathetic, but they're not exactly delighted with how everything's played out. I think even they see through her victim act. Mutual friends have informed me that she's been lashing out, getting into disputes with her family and acting like she's on the verge of a breakdown. The legal aspect of things has gotten more problematic as well. Kathy's lawyer is trying all they can to dig out dirt on me. They filed petitions to subpoena my parents' financial information, even though my lawyer has repeatedly stressed that my parents' assets are not up for grabs in this divorce. It's a blatant attempt to rattle me, but it's not working. Kathy's lawyers also filed a motion to depose my colleagues at work attempting to unearth something. Anything that may show I was hiding assets or earning under-the-table income. They're grasping at straws, yet it's tough to deal with. Every time we believe we've addressed one of their requests, they come back with another. The whole issue is starting to feel like a never-ending chess match. Every move I make, Kathy and her crew try to counter, but I've been staying one step ahead owing to my lawyer and the watertight legal protections my father set up years ago. Still, it's draining, and I'm not sure how much longer I can keep this up until we end up in court for real. Speaking of legal proceedings, we've already tried mediation twice actually, and both times it's been a complete fiasco. The first session ended after approximately 20 minutes, when Kathy refused to move on her demand for half of the house and our funds. My lawyer put out the facts of the situation, that the house was in my father's name and that there wasn't nearly as much money as she thought. But Kathy wouldn't hear it. She stormed out, accusing me of lying and screaming that the mediator was prejudiced against her. The second effort wasn't much better. This time, Kathy turned up with a list of absolutely ridiculous demands. She wanted full ownership of the house, half of all our savings even though they hardly exist, and alimony for at least 5 years. When my lawyer gently stated again that she wasn't entitled to any of that, Kathy lost it. She started yelling about how she had given everything for me and how I was leaving her with nothing. I sat there trying to be cool, but inwardly I was angry. She was the one who cheated. She was the one who wanted the divorce. And now she's acting like I'm the one ruining her life. It's incredible. After that session, it became evident that this divorce is heading for court, whether I like it or not. On top of that, Kathy's been borrowing money from her relatives and friends to meet her legal bills. She definitely didn't anticipate the divorce to drag on this long. And now she's running out of funds. I'm not entirely sure how she plans to keep paying her aggressive lawyer, but that's not my problem. The more desperate she gets, the more crazy her behavior becomes. Mutual friends have informed me she's been spending most of her time at home venting to anyone who will listen about how I've destroyed her life. It's gotten so bad that some of her friends have started distancing themselves from her. They're tired of the drama and her incessant playing of the victim card. It seems like everything Kathy thought she was going to get out of this divorce is slipping through her fingers. Through all of this, I've been doing my best to stay calm and handle things strategically. Every time Kathy makes a new accusation or demand, I counter it with evidence. Every financial document they request, I provide because I have nothing to hide. My lawyer has been terrific about making sure we're following the law to the letter, which is more than I can say for Kathy's staff. I've also been working to preserve my parents' privacy. Kathy's attempts to drag them into this mess are infuriating, but fortunately there are legal measures in place to block her from accessing their financial data. Still, the fact that she's even trying shows just how desperate she is. It's like she thinks if she digs deep enough, she'll uncover some buried treasure that I've been keeping from her, but there's nothing to find. The day of the court hearing finally arrived, and the anxiety was intense would be an understatement. Kathy was the first to testify, and she came out swinging. She made it clear that she believed I had been keeping assets from her all along. She accused me of manipulating our finances, hiding money in hidden accounts, and lying to her about how much we actually had. She was emotional, painting herself as the victim who had been left with nothing after sacrificing her career to support mine. She was sobbing on the stand at one point, talking about how she had trusted me with everything only to be blindsided by the divorce and my supposed financial trickery. But then came the real kicker when my lawyer revealed evidence of her affair with Derek. As soon as the messages, pictures, and details of her relationship with him came out, the jury, the judge, everyone could see what was actually going on. Kathy's victim story started to disintegrate right before my eyes. At one point, she even tried to downplay the affair, saying it was just a mistake, and the stake and the bad thing to do with the divorce. But by then, her credibility was shot, and it was clear that her money demands were driven more by greed than anything else. When it was my turn to testify, I made sure to be calm and stick to the facts. My lawyer had prepped me well, and getting emotional or defensive wouldn't assist my case. I went over everything, how my assets had been structured in my father's name for years, how I had submitted comprehensive financial disclosures, and how I had tried to handle the divorce peacefully through mediation. I also testified about Kathy's threats, her unpredictable behavior, and the smear campaign she had been undertaking. My lawyer produced documentation of all the accusations she had made at me, both publicly and court, and showed how frivolous. We brought out the truth about our finances. The house belonged to my father, our savings were modest at best, and there was no secret cache of money that she could lay claim. The judge seemed to enjoy my straightforwardness. I didn't try to demonize Kathy, but I didn't sugarcoat the reality of what had transpired either. The facts were clear, and I made sure to give them without drama or hyperbole. A few important witnesses were called during the trial, and their statements helped seal the deal. First, my father took the stand. He explained the financial arrangement we had put in place years ago, how the property was in his name, how the investments were under his control, and how all of this was done as sort of long-term financial security. He made it clear that these assets were his, not mine, and that Kathy had no legal right to them. Next up was one of my colleagues from work. Kathy's team had tried to argue that I had been hiding money by obtaining under-the-table payments or bonuses, but my colleague shut. He testified about my small income, my regular transparent salary. There were no secret bonuses, no hidden sources of money, just a simple paycheck. They had reported. These witnesses were crucial in showing that Kathy's charges were unfounded. The judge could see that there was no major scheme on my side, just a basic plain financial arrangement, that Kathy had never bothered To grasp after days of testimony and legal arguments, the judge eventually delivered. Person 2, a big relief. To hear the words, the divorce would be granted. In my favor, Kathy's demands for half of the house and our savings were denied outright. The judge ruled that because the house and most of our assets were in my father's name, Kathy had no claim to them. The only thing she was awarded was a minimum amount of alimony, and even that was, for a limited time, barely enough to cover her legal bills, let alone the lifestyle she was hoping. The judge made it clear that Kathy's affair and her lack of contribution to the household finances played a role in his decision. He saw through her saccharine attempts to paint herself as a victim and ruled accordingly. As the decision was read out, I felt a massive weight lift off my shoulders. The months of stress, the constant accusations, the fear of losing everything, all of it melted away. In that moment, I knew that legally I was in the clear. Kathy, other hand, didn't take the verdict well. As soon as the judge finished, she burst into tears, shouting that the system was unfair and that I had cheated out of what was rightfully hers. She stormed out the courtroom, leaving her lawyer looking exasperated. I'm not sure what she expected, but it seemed clear that she hadn't prepared herself for the possibility of losing. For me, the immediate feeling was one of relief. I thanked my lawyer, who had done a good job throughout the whole process, and headed out of the courthouse. My phone was buzzing with texts from friends and family congratulating me. The outcome word had spread quickly and the local community was already talking about the case. It felt good to know the truth had come out and that I could finally move on with my life, but it wasn't done outside the courthouse. She had a full-blown meltdown. In front of a small crowd, she started screaming about how I had lied and manipulated the system and how she was going to appeal the decision. The problem is she doesn't have the money to do proceedings, that she was running out of funds. And from what I've heard, she's still borrowing money from family and friends just to get by. That being said, I'm incredibly grateful for my father's advice and foresight when it came to protecting my finances. Without his help, I'd be in right now. I'm also thankful for the support of my friends, family, and colleagues who stuck by me, even when Kathy was spreading rumors and trying to destroy my reputation. Looking forward, I'm hopeful. I know it's going to take time to fully recover from this, both emotionally and financially. But I'm ready to move on with my life. I've learned some valuable lessons from all of this, and I won't be making the same mistakes again. For now, I'm just focusing on getting back to a sense of normalcy and enjoying the peace that comes with having this chapter finally closed.